Talk about it. Do it. Don't lie about it. Do it. Talk a bunch of shit, man. That's so good you gotta do it. Yeah. Do it.
Matt Morrison here from my blog Direbane. Wanted to talk a little bit today about the Cube World Installments by Zach Smith. Cube World is the planetary setting for Zach's prior books, Vornheim, Red and Pleasant Land, Maze of the Blue Medusa, and Frostbitten and Mutilated. It's a planet-wide, cube-shaped artifact, and it's honeycombed with dungeons. And Zach's own home game takes place on a face of this cubic planet. So Zach has been releasing his actual play notes from the game, adding commentary to make it clear what is actually going on in the different scenarios. Each installment typically has 3 adventures and accompanying tables such as treasure tables or random dungeon tables and things like that. What I've done here is I've printed out each of the installments on a color laser printer and bound them with my comb binder. So when it came out, the only thing that started recurring over and over again was Brocéliande, which is this mythical Arthurian forest in France, but it's also the name for Zach's land that is south of Gax-and-Cain. And where we know Gax-and came from is in Vornheim. We got a nice little campaign setting map. I've colored this one in to make it a little easier for me to find different things on there as I was going through the different installments. Brocéliande is south. So we got these little question marks here. And I went back through Zach's website, D&D with Porn Stars, and found setting maps. So in addition to this one that was in Vornheim, found this one, which is really good. A lot of Zach's work is designed to make it easier for the Dungeon Master, how to plot things out and run the game smoothly. So in here, this is not an artistic map per se. There's no mountains drawn on here or rivers. It's basically what looks to be a political map showing the different power centers. But what I got out of this was I found where things were located. So I found Vornheim was here, Nornric, which is on the map here, and also in Frostbitten and Mutilated is listed on there. And Nephidilia is also on the Vornheim map. And what we got down here beneath Gax-and-Cain, we have this fairyland. And I do have maps that came out in the Cube World installments. That's what's on the cover here. And again, I've put in the blue water and I've added a couple maps together to kind of get a full map. You can see Gax-and-Cain is up here in the north, kind of confirmed that what we're talking about is the fairyland. This is really early version of the map. It wasn't called Brocéliande at that point, or at least Zach hadn't published that. And then this is a player's map. I think it was done by Connie, one of the players in Zach's game. This was a series of images that were posted on the website. I kind of put them together and molded them around with my Photoshop software and ended up with what I think is a good depiction. But of course, this is drawn by the players, so it may not be particularly accurate in terms of distances and things like that. You know, we players are always guessing at stuff and trying to figure out relationships. How do these things relate? I'm tying it all together with the Cube World here. I found what I think is the best depiction of the setting map. Each geographic region is presented by a photograph in order to give the DM who's running the game not only an idea of how the different countries are related together, but also some of the flavor of the different countries. So that's primarily where Cube World began taking place. It was really 90% of it almost a adventuring source book for Brocéliande. The idea is that it's not full of a bunch of essays or really any essays about history and heroes and battles and things like that. It's full of adventure. Some of the little details may be included as parts of the adventure. Overall, this is not a series of installments that lectures at you, so you as a DM running them need to know all this history. It's really detailed in the adventure what NPCs might know or what information might be gleaned from the different artifacts that the adventurers might discover. These are all the ones that I've printed. There's well over 300 pages in here. It's just a wealth of information with phenomenal art and just really, I think there's nothing like it. There's literally nothing being released like this. This is just phenomenal. This is one of my favorites, which is Nephilidia. Nephilidia is this sunken island with watery vampires. So what we get is we get a nice description, and we have a map of the island. You can see how what Zach has done is he's taken notes that are on the page that may be kind of obscure or hard to read, and he's rewritten them out for the dungeon master who's going to be running this campaign. You get wonderful art, you get, as I said, tables that help you run the encounters, and then you get specific encounters. Zach had repurposed a cookbook. So each region in this cookbook atlas has a header along the top. And if I can show, red, of course, is Red and Pleasant Land. Pink is up on the area of Vornheim. Orange is Broceliande. Leads me into the other thing I've done with this book is that Zach gives you in each installment the PDF that has the artwork and the typed up things to make it easier to run the campaign. He also gives you the JPEG files from his source material. So you actually have JPEG high quality, high res images of the material as it exists in Zach's atlas and notebooks. So what I did, because I like tactile stuff. So what I did is I took those images and put them into two different books. And the first is the atlas itself. So what I did here is I printed out each of the pages, and I'm slowly constructing a atlas similar to what Zach might have in his cookbook. So the pages are numbered. The things relate together. Sometimes there's adjusted pages, I imagine, because the page numbers are overwritten. But it seems like everything corresponds to the page numbers. And so I've got this nice little artifact that that actually tries to mimic in a very imperfect and less than the real thing way Zach's actual atlas. Then the other thing, Zach does maps in a series of Princeton grids and guides notebooks. I printed out a little cover of one here. And within these notebooks, they're typically a blank page followed by a page with some type of graphing marks. And there's a variety of different scaled and kind of trigonometric, if that's a proper description, aspect of the second page. So what I've done here is I've taken the PDFs. This is actually not from a Cube World installment. It's from a photograph. So I threw it in there. So I knew when I saw that picture in an installment, I could replace it with the actual JPEG. But the others, you see, these are high quality JPEG images, and I've got them roughly, they're not going to be the same way as in Zach's notebook, because one, he uses multiple notebooks. Two, oftentimes we're just getting a JPEG of a 2-page spread. And 3, I noticed, I couldn't figure out in a little video he did, why this one was upside down. I think what was going on is that, because I couldn't figure out why he was in his video, he's going this way, and then he turned this one around and it was that way. And I think it's because of the orientation for what he wanted to do with this type of paper and what he wanted to do with that type of paper, because he had started using the book a certain way, but he wanted to reverse it for this particular encounter. He just flipped the book upside down. Again, I think the real quality of Zach's work is that he thinks in terms of utility. So that's Cube World. And if anybody's interested, I'll post links where you can find these things. I really think it's a phenomenal product. I don't think there's anything like it being published right now. And the installments are relatively inexpensive, typically about $5. They sometimes go as high as 10 for a longer installment. Well, that's it. Thank you, and I'll catch up with you later.